ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Bellino. Very nice to have you on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Great setting, huh? Poco Loco. I'm just waiting for the yuca frita to like magically appear from like the ceiling or something.
That would be perfect. Unfortunately, no food on Sundays. No food on Sundays. Are closed, but come Monday through Saturday and get your food. Get food, alcohol, outside, inside, whatever you want. Great food, great drinks, great environment to come and do all those things. Especially for people who are looking to get out of the house right now. A lot of people have just been stuck inside for a long time. They just want to get out, man.
And you know what? I've been out a little bit over the last couple of weeks since Ohio's began to kind of open up. I still think people are somewhat concerned, somewhat nervous.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, for me, it was just like the first chance I get, I'm running out the starting blocks. Like, let's go.
I think a lot of people were like that. You just get so built up on, I need to get out of here. At the same time, like you said, I think a lot of people are being safe. I think that's why, you know, most states are on the rise of COVID cases since they started being lenient. And Ohio is still on the decline. As of this moment, as of this podcast right now, Ohio is still on the decline because people are still going out, but they're actually being safe and paying attention more than other states, I'll say. I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm saying we're doing a great job at it, and I love that. I feel like Ohio led the way in closing everything down, and now Ohio's leading the way in opening everything back up.
Yeah, giving us like parameters and guidelines on how to do it safely. For me, the entire situation has been kind of like, this is our opportunity to learn. You know, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? Because, you know, for people that are my age, whatever we see next, because it is such a global economy, we are global citizens. You know, it's the world it's the world that trade created. So we're looking at this now like, okay, COVID-19 is here to stay. We already have a coronavirus. This is just, you know, the one that happened in 2019.
Exactly.
So for us, what can we learn from what we did right and what we did wrong for the next wave that might be stronger? You know, if this is something like the Black Death or the Spanish flu, where the mortality rate is like 5, 10, 15%, like you catch it, you got a legit shot at going down. You know, maybe we overacted a little bit. Maybe we didn't. But whatever we did for whatever comes next, we can look back at this as our proving ground. Like, this is a good learning experience.
Yeah. And I'd rather be on the side of cautioning to error. So let's say we did it preemptively and we did it too rough. I'd much rather be on that side and face the recovery than to face the death toll. And there's no turning back from that. You can't fix a death toll. No. So I think our numbers have been great here in Ohio. The United States as a whole is not doing too great, to be completely honest. Like we got some work to do on that. And I think this is, I don't want to say good. It's hard to say that, but I think this has been an awakening for us where we need to be prepared in certain facilities, especially in medical facilities. We realize that we are very underprepared for a situation like this, where other countries have taken a completely other approach to this. And I don't know if their numbers are valid or real, because obviously they can say whatever they want. But China, where it came out of, it appears to be under control, and the way they're handling it and the things that they've set up to keep people safe has been amazing.
Have you looked at or seen any of the carbon monoxide? Or carbon dioxide, I should say. Carbon dioxide, like the readings. It's almost like planet Earth has had enough, and it just needed a break. Just give me a couple weeks where you people aren't just burning everything in sight. Let me breathe a little bit. Yeah. And it's kind of helped out in that regard.
It has worked. And I don't think there's anything else, because we've, and I say we have talked about this a lot, as far as there's too much pollution on this earth, how much humans are emitting that pollution, what's going on, and what we can do to just kind of calm that down. And there's a lot of things that people try to do, but politically they never get through. This virus had nothing politically about it. It was like, this is what's happening. Yep. How are you going to react to it? Everybody reacted the way they did. This was like a natural way for the earth to say, I've had enough. I need a break. Like, everybody calm down. Also, on that note, I think it's been great for people. I know people are going crazy at home and there's a lot of stuff going on, but when's the last time that you've been able to spend so much time with your family, or spend so much time, let's say, in your own thoughts, if you're in that situation, to actually evaluate values in life, as opposed to, I have to go to work, I have to go to school, I have to do this. This thing put a stop to everything and left you alone with your thoughts. What do you think? Well, what are you supposed to do? And everybody has a different view on how to approach that situation.
I think that for the minute they said you can't go outside, at least in my neighborhood, so I live in West Toledo, I saw a lot more people out and about. Whether it was couples or, kids riding bikes. I just saw more people outside because eventually you're going to get bored of what's inside. And so often we talk about kids constantly being on Fortnite or playing video games or whatever the case may be. And now, at least where I live, I saw more activity outside because they said, hey, stay in your house. You can go for a walk, but, stay in your house. And people are like, okay, well, I'm going to go for a bike ride. I'm going to enjoy some time. For business people that are constantly, I always think of like the New York City, like
hustle and bustle
stockbroker,
type.
right? That's always what I think about. A guy in a suit who had children who doesn't know his children.
Yeah.
And forcing him to work from home, how has that helped him? How has it helped his marriage? How has maybe this coronavirus impacted individuals on a level to where they look at things maybe a little bit differently than they used to, where work is priority number one? And it's difficult when, everybody has bills to pay.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing for your career? What are you doing to make your living? How are you going to support the lifestyle that you want? And then being able to kind of balance that with, well, okay, if I did lose my job, or if something didn't go my way, what's really important?
What's really important?
What's really important?
That's the greatest way to word that. Absolutely. And I think it's, again, it's a horrible situation that we're all in. We're all, when I say all, I mean all as individual, I mean all as businesses, I mean everybody, not just in this country, but in every country, is definitely feeling the effects of everything going on. But the positive that I'm getting out of this is it's made everybody do that same self-evaluation on, well, I don't have to go to work, I don't have to do this. What's really important in my life? Like you said, if all these things go away, what's really crucial to me? And I think it's been good for a lot of people to evaluate that, to really sit down and be forced to look at that.
I think so. In my own personal experience with this, from my work, I work in a couple of different fields. And with one of my jobs, I spend a lot of time with my family to begin with. So
Okay.
it really hasn't affected that because they're in the grocery business. So for the grocery business, it's been insanity for 2.5, 3 months to where it's nonstop. Can you keep up? Employees and we have a lot of young people that work for us. High school kids. It's their first or second job or whatever the case may be. But really trying to test their mettle a little bit because they've never seen it. We've never seen it.
Nobody. Yeah, this is unprecedented.
We're all kind of learning on the fly.
Yeah. It's again, it's obviously we're all in a dire situation, but it's been a positive experience for people to have to evaluate those kind of things, and those who are stepping up. Toledo Spirits being one of those places.
Hey,
they switched up what they were doing, mind you, making some fantastic alcohol that we're drinking right now. But they weren't using those vaults because everything's closed down. So they repurposed it and are making hand sanitizer, which at the time that they started making that was in very short supply, and the prices were ridiculous on them that they got inflated so bad because they knew that people needed it, that it was really ridiculous. So they decided to use the vaults they were using to make alcohol for drinking to make hand sanitizer. Local hand sanitizer here, and I think that's great. Like I said, just to step up in that way and be like, what else can we do? What can we do to help and to stay active? Because other than that, it was pretty much shut down. There's nothing you can do. What do you decide to do? And there's some people that would say, let's wait it out, let's do whatever. And they, in turn, decided to step it up and repurpose existing things to make something that's useful for all of us here.
When you look at the pandemic and how it's affected, so we're sitting here at Carlos Poco Loco, and you're talking about a restaurant that thrives and survives on the atmosphere, the dining experience.
Yep.
Okay, now you've closed all that off. So what can we do? How do we keep our people employed? Because it's more than just the owner of Poco Loco. It's the hostess. It's the servers. It's the cooks. It's the bartenders. It's how do we manage all of this to be able to create some sort of business model on the fly that no one's prepared for, that we can actually be successful and continue to keep people employed. And That's been the biggest challenge, I think, for at least the food industry and for a lot of industries has been how do we keep our people employed right now in a time of crisis? Because we all have, like, the bills aren't going to stop.
No. This is things
No,
will
the
stop.
mortgage payment is still due.
It's still going to come. I think the food industry got hit the worst, by far the worst. Like you said, grocery stores, people can't go eat food, eat out, whatever they wanted to do. So now they're looking at, I need to go.
Business is booming.
Yeah, exactly.
But the restaurant business, and if you're a restaurant that is the staple is food first, drink second, you're in great shape.
No.
But if your staple was drinks first and food, now you've got yourself in a little bit of a quandary.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Because especially now that people are starting to get back out and starting to do everything, they're hitting the places where the food is the first priority.
Right.
And then they get their drinks with it. They're not looking to go out and get drinks and then a little bit of food while they're there. Now their priority has shifted a little bit.
Right. And that's a good thing for those who prioritize the food.
Yeah. One thing that I did like, Governor Mike DeWine allowed alcohol to be sold on takeout orders. Yep. And I thought that was especially for the time we were facing, where we're like, we don't even want to leave. Even the alcohol stores were open, by the way. To the liquor stores, you can go and buy your bottle of liquor.
100 years ago, it was prohibition. Alcohol's illegal. 100 years later, this is now essential business.
It's an essential business.
You got to have booze.
We need it. Are you going to eat food? You probably need some alcohol. Let's allow that on the carryout.
Calories.
Now, mind you, that was fantastic. I love that decision. I understand that it probably wasn't easy to switch a stance that has been going on for so long and to say, okay, let's allow it. And I'm so happy that I don't know how much it was requested or how much like people were like, can we do I don't know how much it was emphasized to them. I only heard the results. I only heard it when they were like, we're now allowing 2 drinks. I was like, oh, who thought of this? This is amazing.
I just happened to order 2 65-ounce margarita mixes.
This
Whatever.
is perfect.
This is 2, I get 2.
So I get to eat my food. I don't have to go anywhere. And I like a lot of the delivery drivers, like in the notes or whatever you want to leave. I don't know if they have to do it, but I always leave it in the notes. Just put the food at the door and text me. And they do. And I have cameras looking right at my front door, so they leave the food. Yeah.
What are you, CIA?
I have cameras everywhere, bro. I was just like, I'm secure is all I know, dude. So I was like, all right, as soon as they leave it and I get a text message, your food is here. And I look out and my food is right out front. That is so, thank goodness that we are in an era technologically where we are suffering so bad and yet so catered at the same time, where it's like before, imagine going through this with no internet or without all these apps or like DoorDash or like people bringing you the food. Imagine going through all this and you can't order food. Or you can't look online for this or that.
Or you can't play PlayStation.
You can't play PlayStation. Oh, you can't play video games because at least we can keep socializing over video games.
Absolutely.
And at a time, like the newspapers and headlines were always like, video game shooters are making kids do crazy things and yada, yada, yada. Like, these are bad. These can have a negative impact on your children. Beware of everything.
Rated M for mature.
And then COVID comes down. They're like, video games are great. Your kids can still socialize. You're like, yo, make up your minds.
Yeah,
but,
which one is it?
Yeah, but it is great that we can still talk to each other. We can still communicate. Mm-hmm. We can still do things like teamwork and games. Certain Call of Duty we'll throw out there. We can do our teamwork. We can talk. We can still exercise our minds in a certain way and have fun with each other.
Yes.
Yet you're at your house and I'm at mine. Like, nowhere near each other.
It could have been so much worse. But the internet made this bearable.
It did. It really helped out. It really helped out.
Especially as a sports guy with no sports.
Yeah. Oh,
there's nothing on. There was nothing on for 3.5 months.
You have to be going through a rough period of time with no sports whatsoever.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's made my, it's made us get a little more creative on the radio side.
Yeah.
But, for me, as someone who has worked usually, like for instance, we'd be in baseball season right now.
Yeah.
Well, game would, first pitch would be at 7:00. I'd be there by 5:30, maybe 6, depending. We go through a 7-game homestand. Well, that's Monday through Sunday. Well, all right. So for the last couple months, I haven't had to work at night. I haven't had to work on weekends, at least at weekend nights.
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten used to it. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I'm still working, throughout the week and then weekends at the family grocery store. But, I mean, to be off by 6, not be going in at 6, like, it's a
has
game
to be
changer.
nice. Yeah, that has to be super nice. Now, the moment sports return, I can see you flying and I can see you flying right back to it. Like, all right, I don't mind. Because it's not really work if you like what you're doing. So it's not too bad when you're like, sports are finally back and I can watch.
And so if we look at the Toledo MudHens, for example,
Okay.
like, they're not coming back. Like, this year is lost.
This year, yeah,
This year's lost.
This year's rough.
They can't get the major leagues right. And if Major League Baseball and the Players Association could come to an agreement, let's say within 15 minutes, and they were able to get things intact to where this is our strategy, this is how we're going to play it, they would send all their minor leaguers, in my estimation, to their spring training facilities, and then they would be able to bring them up as they wanted to. So even here, we're not going to see anybody. You're not going to get any players because you can't do the risk of travel, the risk of hotel stays, things of that nature that the team is going to have to face. Plus, if you don't have a television contract, which minor leagues don't, you're not going to get paid on that. Oof. And if you can only have 30% capacity, or let's say Governor DeWine says you can have 50% of your max capacity at a ball game, here are the rules. Minor leagues can't survive on that. Here in Toledo, we could do it.
Toledo has a great minor league.
Yeah, but you go out to Scranton, like, you're screwed. You can't go to Scranton like that.
You can't.
You ain't going to Elmira. Like, people don't even know where Elmira's at. I thought that was a woman. I didn't know.
Have you met Elmira?
Exactly, like the Elmira Jackals. What are those?
No. So I think we would survive here, but surviving and thriving are two very different things, and I think the MudHens have thrived for years. I think people love. I love our community for the MudHens, and I think they would do fantastic. But the risk would be way too high for the rewards. They wouldn't be able to get, like you said, the contracts wouldn't allow them to make much money for the threats that they're facing, for the possibilities that could have a very negative impact. So it's not worth it to them to do something like that.
And even if so, our last walleye game was March 11th. It was a Wednesday because March 12th was the Big Ten tournament.
Okay.
So I work for the University of Michigan, so I was heavily invested in our Thursday game.
Okay.
Right? Wednesday, the walleye are playing. I'm texting my boss. I'm like, "What's the status?" He said, "Enjoy your night off. No fans. You can have the night off." I said, "Okay."
Nice.
And then the very next, I think it was within 48 hours, the ECHL was postponed. Everything was put on hold. And you look at the success the walleye have had in particular, right? You mentioned the MudHens and how good it's been for downtown, because when you have the baseball team downtown, you're bringing people to the baseball game. So whether it's a family of 4 that's going to go and grab cotton candy and hot dogs and whatever, that's fine. But everybody else who's coming downtown, who's going to grab a bite to eat beforehand,
exactly,
grab a drink beforehand, that's going to stay after the game.
It stimulates our little economy here. It stimulates it in such a great way because everybody comes out, and before whatever event is, whatever's going on at the Huntington Center, but especially the walleye game, people would come out, they would eat, they would drink, so they would get the food in their stomach and start drinking, and then head down to the Huntington Center to enjoy the walleye games. And that was major. I think that was major for the economy here. MudHens, I always say this, the MudHens they were the first ones to come down here and start to stir things up downtown.
Yes.
Then the Huntington Center opened up, and that was another thing. The walleye, though, the walleye fans are...
There's something.
They're something. And now, I've mentioned the MudHens I don't know how many times, and I've gotten called out on not mentioning the walleye enough. And it's because I have not attended many of the games. I know.
You haven't been to a game?
No, I've been to plenty of games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Okay, good. I was about to say, like, what are you doing here in Toledo?
No. I've been to plenty of games. But I haven't mentioned the wall, because to me, I've always found it, to me personally, I like being outside. So I love the MudHens. Plus, I worked there for a very long time. So it's something I'm familiar with.
Right.
But I love being outside and enjoying the game and socializing and all that. Whereas the walleye is like intense. And every time I go there with like somebody's like, hey, let's go. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And then we're like, oh, cool. And then we get there, and they turn into an animal. Like, they're like yelling. And I love it. Like, I get in that vibe, but I don't automatically get in that vibe. I feed off that energy to get that vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Whereas the MudHens, it's just like, that's my vibe. So that's why I don't mention the walleye as much as I do the MudHens. I've gotten told about that. I love the walleye. I got nothing against the walleye. I love the walleye. I tend to mention the MudHens more is all.
We had a double header. We had a MudHens. It was the walleye were in the playoffs. One of the first year they were in the playoffs, and I worked for both teams, and they moved up the first pitch of the MudHens game at like 4, so that way they were able to have the MudHens game at 7. They were hoping they were selling like double tickets, like buy a MudHens ticket, get into the walleye game, that type of deal.
Nice.
And I remember running down the street from Fifth Third Field to the Huntington Center because it was like, hey, you're done here, go over there. And I'm just running down the street trying to make it by like the national anthem. Like, hey, everybody, we're here. Have a T-shirt. Like, take this, you savage.
How long have you worked for both?
10 years. 10 years.
10 years?
10 years. I was fresh out of college.
No idea. How old are you?
32.
32?
32.
22?
Yep.
And that's what you were doing?
So I filled in.
That's awesome.
I was working at Bowling Green doing public address for, I had men's and women's soccer, baseball, softball, basketball, doing public address work.
Okay.
And the Walleye needed a sub back in 2009 because the guy who I was filling in for, Bob Vergils, he also did Michigan basketball.
Okay.
So, long story short, he's got a game up at Michigan. They need a sub. They can't find anybody. They called BG. BG referred me. I hadn't done BG hockey before. I had worked one hockey game that I called work, but I did it for my high school because I played basketball. The hockey team needed something. I was like, yeah, I got nothing else going on.
Yeah, why not?
So the Walleye called and like, hey, heard you're the Bowling Green hockey public address announcer. Can you come fill in for a game? And I was just lying out of my teeth. I was like, yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Yeah.
So I went up there and worked. They said, hey, we're going to be looking for a DJ. Have you ever DJ'd? I'd never DJ'd before, but of course I was like, yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, whatever you
So
need.
learn the program on the fly and start doing that. I transitioned from DJ to in-game MC. And from the 2009-2010 season is when I basically walked into the MudHens because they were like, hey, we need a public address announcer. I can't lie. Baseball, not my thing.
Yeah.
Not my thing.
Okay.
It's just not me.
Not as exciting as
I'm a football,
the basketball
kind of guy, right? You know what I'm saying? So for me, I initially turned the job down. They're like, hey, it doesn't matter. Like, we need somebody. And I was like, yeah, I'll come work. Like, that's fine. And I've been there ever since.
Very nice. Very nice.
That's how it started because the guy that I was working with, because I transitioned from the guy upstairs, now batting, number 3, Valdi, to in the stands, hey, kid, time for the bass shuffle, that deal. So how I transitioned there.
Cheers to you.
Hey.
Because
you got to adapt. You got to overcome and adapt.
I was literally about to say, I love the ability, and this is something that not everybody has. Sometimes you need to do things that you don't know how to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will say, no, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do that. And other people, like yourself, and I believe myself, will be like, yeah, no, I can do that.
100%. What do you need?
Yeah, what do you need? Whatever you need. If somebody else has done it before, I can do it.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't involve height or something physical, I can do this.
And you're telling me I have a chance to be employed. And I think that a lot of times, a lot of young people think that, okay, so what I'm told is I go to high school, then I go to college, then I apply to a job and I get a job. And that's just not the case, especially in today where as competitive as academics are and as competitive as the workplace is, and with our global workplace now, I think that a lot of people are afraid to pick up a broom and start sweeping. But if you have to sweep the floor the best it's ever been. Like, I'm looking down at the floor right now. This thing is shining. My mother always used to tell me, because growing up in the grocery business, I'm the 4th generation. My great-grandfather immigrated here from, at the time, it was Yugoslavia.
Okay.
He immigrates here. That's what he knows. Comes here, starts a small grocery store. It expands. Long story short. But my mother's big thing was, it doesn't matter if you're the garbage man. Stand the cans up. Because at the time they didn't have that hook that just grabs the can and throws
Yeah.
it in the truck. Like people actually had to get out and throw it in there. And her big thing was like, if you're gonna be the garbage man, take pride in the way that you do your job.
Absolutely.
And that's one of those things that always stuck with me. And the way I've always looked at it is like, yes, my family might own it, but at the end of the day, I'm still just an hourly employee. So you have to set an example. You have to set almost like a precedence of like, this is how we're going to operate. This is how we're going to work. And people they'll feed off of that. They will thrive off of that.
Your energy spreads.
It does. It does.
Like that is
100%.
so legitimately true. Like what you put out there, especially like a strong work ethic, and even if you're like a part of, you don't have to work so hard. You don't have to, but you do. Right. Because you know that that's the right thing to do. That's instilled in you, right? So like that, and people feed off of that. And sometimes, without you even knowing that, people need that. People need energy to feed off of, because there's times where you just don't have the energy to.
You just don't have the juice.
You don't have it.
You don't have
it.
it.
And that happens to all of us. Yes. Like that's not just like that happens to everybody. And sometimes it's nice to have somebody to have that energy to feed off of and just push that much harder into everything. That's great. That's fantastic.
And it's all about the little things. So I coach youth basketball in my spare time.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I've been coaching.
You have spare time?
Yeah, right. As long as it fits in the schedule. So I've had 5th graders through 8th grade. I've had freshmen. And it's been
nice.
It's been great because, when you work with young people, I think that one of the most rewarding things is we're trying to teach you something, and then you execute what we're trying to show you.
That's to be a beautiful feeling.
And you're working as a team, and all these things start to come together. But I think that when you mention energy, right, as a coach, you have to bring it every single day. And you look at people that are in management positions, people that are in ownership positions, some of the most successful people in the world. Look at Kobe, who just passed away. R.I.P. But you look at the way that he approached the game of basketball. Not everybody's like that, but you need someone like that on your team in order for people to look to. Because if those who are around you are looking to somebody and they can't find that somebody,
it's bad.
Your business is lost.
Super bad news.
Your business is lost.
Yeah, you have to have that.
When you're the owner, you're the first one walking in the door.
You have to create that energy. Sometimes you even if you don't have it, you have to create that energy every day. Make it happen.
Every day.
Yeah, absolutely. 110%.
And that's where the great businesses, I think, are really very successful, because they have somebody that employees can look to. Like when you are inspiring and people feel appreciated, they will go to battle for you.
They will go 150%. Yes. They don't even have that extra 50%.
But they got it now.
But they find it. They find it. And I think everybody hits that point where they don't even, sometimes it's not even creating extra capacity. It's accessing another capacity that people don't know they have. So where people are like, I'm giving it 100%. No, they have more, but they've never been pushed to the limits where they've had to really give 100%. And bringing that energy to it helps them. They feed off of it. But little do they know, they have it within themselves. But it's easier to see somebody. It's like, okay, no, if he can do it, I can do it. If he can do it, no, he's saying it and then going to that level or that extremity. One
of the things I always say at the grocery store is, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I won't do right now.
Very nice.
I'm not going to, and I read that in a book. I'm a history minor. I love world history. I love global conflict. Right? Why did people fight wars? What wars did they fight? Where did they take place? What happened? Right? And the great leaders of the world, the great war leaders of the world, had a way to inspire their people, and you lead from the front.
Yes.
People don't have a lot of respect for somebody who's calling out orders from 100 miles away.
Yes.
The greatest ones put their own life at risk, because I'm not going to put you in a position to do something I'm not willing to do myself.
Nice.
And I think when you start to apply that to your everyday world, and I think that a lot of young people are missing that sweep the floor. Because the guy that owned this business, he started by sweeping the floor.
The same thing.
And we're fed this idea via social media, via our society, that I turn 22, I graduate college, boom, I'm a millionaire. That's just not how it works.
No, not at all.
Because that doesn't work.
But there's also this, and I've had this conversation with multiple people, ingrained idea where you have to graduate high school, then you have to go to college, minimum 4 years, and then you'll see some possibilities happen. But if people had a little bit more of their own energy, like if they actually utilized their own energy for their purposes, a lot of people can skip that 4 years. A lot of people can skip all that if they have that work ethic or they have that drive to do something. Now, mind you, if you're like, I don't know what I want to do, I don't have any idea, whatever, college gives you that time to figure out what you want to do, what you're good at, and evaluate that.
Yes.
But there are a lot of people that have opportunities and aren't willing to. Anything you do in this life, it's a risk. There is no like, I'm going to be
There is
successful.
zero guarantee.
Zero. But I can guarantee you this. If you do not attempt it, you have a 0% chance of success. I guarantee that. Guarantee it.
I almost just responded with 100%, but I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I need a whiteboard here to just write
so
out.
It's like, can we cross it out? All right. So I think, and that's something that I touch on every episode is sometimes there's a million different ways to do things. There really is. Find your own route. Mm-hmm. Do what you think is right. Pursue that, and sometimes it's going to yield results, sometimes it's not. I'm not promising that you're going to be successful if you do these things, but like in my head, for me, if I don't do what I want to do, like if I don't do this, like I'm sad with myself, like I feel disappointed in myself, like why didn't I at least try to do something different?
Right.
And some people don't even have I'm not going to say, I'm going to switch. I wanted to say courage. Some people don't have the courage to try it. I'm going to switch that with motivation.
Okay.
Some people don't have the motivation to try things on their own because they're afraid that it could yield failure. And it can yield failure. But let's talk about what's going on right now. Even with COVID affecting things the way that it is. Hertz, as a car company that rents out vehicles on vacations, is going completely out of business. This is a multi-millionaire company, like completely, and they're going out of business. And there's other people, Joe Rogan, doing podcasts, who's making headlines for a brand new deal. Times change, and things change all the time. And if you're doing something solely to try to get money out of it, I don't think that's the right approach. I think the right approach is to do what you think is right, and hopefully one day it'll yield those results that you're looking for. And I think if you push it enough and it truly is the right thing, it's going to yield those results regardless.
Fear itself, like the fear of failure, is crippling. It is. It is crippling. Like if you start to think about, all right, I want to do X, Y, or Z, and then you think about all the things that can go wrong with X, Y, and Z, you are just feeding your mind the wrong information.
Yes.
And you have to be able to look at whatever your idea might be, assess it as neutrally as you can. Is this a good avenue to go? Is this a bad avenue to go? What are my reasons for doing this?
Yeah.
You know, you got to find, I was talking to a head coach a long time ago. He was a head coach at Buffalo. He went from Buffalo to Kansas coaching college football. His name's Turner Gill. And he said, we have to teach the hows and the whys. Once our kids understand how we do it and why we do it, then they'll be successful at it. And I thought that's one thing that always stuck with me. Okay, how are we doing something and why are we doing it?
I like it.
What is our purpose in doing something like this? I think the other thing for young people is, you know, if we have people that are 18 to 22 years old or, 18 to 30 listening to this, did COVID not teach you anything? And what I mean by that is, we had a pandemic that shut down the way that our world operates. So in my world, I work in sports radio. Well, I can continue to do sports radio, but my other jobs have me with the Toledo MudHens, the Toledo Walleye, University of Michigan, University of Toledo, the Detroit Lions. Like I work on game days. So when sports shut down, what happened was they took a revenue stream from me. Okay, so now what do I do? Well, I'm free in the nights, so I might as well work after radio. I might as well work at the family grocery store again. I have a skill. I have a trade that I can do. I finish up radio at 9 a.m. in the morning, right? I'll just shoot up there and go back to work like nothing ever happened. And my family appreciates it, which is nice. But how many revenue streams do you have? Are you attached to solely one job? And what happens if you lost that job tomorrow? What would you do? How are you living? I think is the other thing that this COVID situation taught us was, are you living outside of your means? You could be a millionaire. You could be a millionaire, right?
Yeah.
Making $1 million a year.
Yeah.
But you could be broke. And what I mean by that is if you're making $1 million a year, but your liabilities or your debts have you in a position where you're paying $900,000 a year, you're paying that out.
Something's wrong.
Something's
Yeah,
wrong. You're
something's
living
wrong.
check to check
wrong.
just like everybody else. So how can you, do you need a 4,500 square foot home? Little things like that. Do you need this lawn service? Do you need this? Do you need that? Take a look at what you absolutely need.
Yeah.
And then reassess your wants versus your needs. Do I want to drive a Maserati? Absolutely. Do I need a Maserati? Hell no.
No.
Not in Toledo, I don't.
No, there's
If I
too
move
many
to Miami,
potholes. I need a Jeep.
Hey, if I move to Miami, I might need one.
Yeah.
I
But
live
here,
in Toledo. I got potholes and I curbs to jump. I'm gonna need a Jeep or something like that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jeep. Maybe they'll sponsor the show.
The shout out to Jeep. I love the mayor put in a proposal earlier this year for a tax increase to fix all the potholes. Now this happened like right before coronavirus or COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, right before it hit. And in my head, I was like, okay, so to me, the tax proposal was too high. But I generally loved the idea of the amount of potholes and the amount of work that was going to be done and guaranteed to be dedicated to fixing roads and yada yada. So it was a good proposal. I just think the numbers were a little bit too high. And the mayor is very good with numbers. I'm not as great with numbers, but I do know that would have affected me in a great way, and it would have hurt me more than it would have benefited me. But it was on the right track.
And young people pay attention to stuff like this.
I think
they have to.
Yeah, okay, they don't though. Here's
they need to.
Here's the problem with that though, because me young, I didn't listen to any of this stuff.
Hell
man.
no.
No. What is like? I'm in the middle of drinking and partying, and like I have way too much other stuff going on right now. But that other stuff was really, it brought no value to my life. Now that I'm a little bit older, I pay attention to these kind of things. And I'm not going to say I'm on it. Like I 100% know everything that's going on. But when I was young, I paid zero attention to it. And now I like to do a little bit of investigating as to what's this levy bring in? What should I vote for? What should I vote against? What can it bring? I think it's very important for our youth to know that all those decisions are very essential to our small community here. Toledo is big city life, but also small community life. Even recently with all the protests going on, with the Black Lives Matter, with all of that stuff going on. And there's a lot that we can touch on that, on the way that the protests went here in downtown Toledo. They took a negative turn. I feel that the positive response from the mayor was very good. This is a small community where everybody's decision makes change and can be heard. In bigger cities, that tends to get lost. Let's talk about New York. New York is a big city, and you yell and you're lost in an ocean of voices. Florida is another one of those. You get lost in that. And I'm talking about a whole state there, so that's kind of unfair. So we'll talk about certain parts of the state.
Miami.
Yeah, we'll talk about Miami. Okay, Miami. Yeah, whatever.
I'm trying to move there.
Yeah. One day. I don't want to move there. I'm gonna be one of those old people that live between Ohio and Florida. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's snowing. I'm going down to Florida. It's warm again. I'm gonna go back to Ohio. I know I'm gonna be one of those people. But I think that the point of what I'm saying is, a lot of younger people don't pay attention because they don't think that it affects them. And honestly, it affects them way, 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 way more than they know. And I hope that they can at least listen and acknowledge what's going on, learn a little bit about what's going on in the city, and take part in those votes, whether it's I vote yes, I vote no, whatever it is, because I respect your decision either way. Everybody is under different circumstances here. So sometimes yes works very good for you, but bad for others. And same thing with no. Sometimes it works for you, not for others. But as long as you're making a conscious choice as to what's good for what you think is good for you and your community, I think that you should make that regardless of what anybody else thinks. What upsets me is when people don't put any thought into it or any validity into it, and then they get upset at things that happen, but they never put any time into actually investigate. Should I do this? Should I vote yes? Should I vote no? Should I vote at all? Yes, you should vote. Yes, at all times. Vote no matter what. But inform yourselves on what you're voting on. And something that I was guilty of is I would go vote because I was told it was important to vote. So I would go vote, but I was very uninformed. And I voted on things just off of 50-50. You could flip a coin and get the same vote. You don't get that anymore from me.
Do you think that the recent protests, the recent Black Lives Matter movement, do you think that that is going to have a positive impact on how the youth approach being informed and maybe approach the way that they look at government as a whole?
Yes. And it's definitely going to impact everything regardless of, but the problem is, and this is a lengthy conversation, but there's been things going on that need attention for a long time. Mm-hmm. And they haven't gotten the attention that they needed. And the problem is that things have gotten spotlight attentions. This happened over here, I'm upset. This happened over here, I'm upset. I think we reached that breaking point where we realized instead of just getting upset at this one specific instance and realizing it's not one specific instance, this is happening too much. They want to know more and they want to inform themselves. And I think that's great because once you inform yourself and say, look, you're upset. You think I'm upset about this. I'm not upset about this. I'm upset about this happening, this happening, this happening. This is not a one-off instance.
Because
this is something. Exactly.
Yes.
So then you start to study, why is this happening? How long has this been happening? And when you really get in depth to all the things that's going on, a lot of people are very upset about Black Lives Matter and all that. I support you 150%. And I ask for anybody to gain more knowledge and express yourself in the way that you think is correctly, peacefully. By the way, I'm not saying anything else, but definitely this is a time to acknowledge everything that's going on. Inform yourself so that you can inform others and make a change. So I think this is a way for them to learn more because this one instance is not a one instance. This one instance has happened way too many times.
The product of
exactly
years and years.
So then you get into the root of it. That's a whole nother story. And there's some people who are not informed on the whole history of what has caused this. So a lot of people think this is George Floyd, and they're gonna put all of their eggs into that basket. It's like, oh, this is why I'm protesting. And I should say that's what people think from outside of the box. And they're like, but George Floyd was this, this, and this. And they release all these negative statements about George Floyd. He was a human being who did something wrong. I've done a lot of things wrong. I don't deserve death for any of those things that I've done wrong. So then they start to acknowledge, okay, this also happened. This also happened. This also happened. It's not this instance. That's not why what's going on is what's going on. It's because there's way too many of this one instance all over the place, and people are starting to realize that.
And I love the example they use about the young man who shot up that church in South Carolina, I believe, and he's walked out in handcuffs. This is what I try to present to people that look like me. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you're a product.
Absolutely.
You're a product of immigrants.
Absolutely.
Right?
I'm first generation born here in the United States. I'm the first generation born in this country.
Spanish is the first language?
Spanish is my first language. English is my second.
Okay, so Spanish is a first language for you. So I look at the world, and I know what the world sees me as, right? I
Yes.
know how I am perceived if I get pulled over, if I go to a checkpoint, whatever the case may be. I know how I look, and I know the advantage that I have right off the bat because of that. But I don't have to go into, my family's history of how we ended up here. But my family chose to come here because
Absolutely.
there was an option for a better life to come here. And that's how a lot of Europeans looked at this. That's how a lot of people from Central and South America look at the United States as like, hey, they call themselves the land of opportunity. Like, let's go see what's going on and figure this thing out for themselves. And I think that there's a group of people here in this country that see themselves as, I would say, maybe the rightful heir to the throne, if you will. To put this in like a Game of Thrones type
I love the way you worded that.
This is people that look like me, for example. We belong here because it was us that did that. And it's like, well, that's not necessarily how the world worked. Like, you can't take away the impact Christopher Columbus jumping on a ship sailing west, not knowing where the hell he was going. You know what I'm saying? You
He was lost.
You can't take that out of history.
Yeah.
You know,
You really can't.
You can't, because that's the way the world.
Asterisk, I hate that guy.
Hey, but
I just want to throw that out there. No, the change in the world.
But your family
I agree.
speaks Spanish for what?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Yeah.
Because Spaniards found this.
Agreed.
This area.
No.
And it's crazy to think that that's the way that the world worked, but that is how it worked then. Doesn't necessarily mean how it needs to work now.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
when we look at our history through a 2020 lens, you are going to be appalled at what happened 200 years ago.
Yeah.
At what happened 60 years ago. Like, I look at the University of Texas. University of Texas has Matthew McConaughey, right, as one of its most prestigious alumni. He teaches a course there. The University of Texas was not actually fully integrated. They were still going through segregation on that campus in the 60s. That's not that far. That's not that far
really
ago.
not.
And so when we look at this Black Lives Matter movement, it's important for people like me to take on the responsibility to say, hey, this is what is important to this group of people who are Americans. They pay taxes just like everybody else. They are no lesser because of skin color or because of ethnicity or because of language or culture. Like, all of these things should be embraced because this is what America was supposed to be, or so I've told. There are a certain group of people, however, who feel like it's 1776. I'm Paul Revere. All of a sudden.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna wave. I got in a battle the other day on Twitter over the Confederate flag because I'm one of those people who thinks that yes, we have freedom of speech, but when I see that flag, I know exactly what side of the line you're on. The Confederacy lasted from 1861 to 1865. That's 4 years. That's it. That's a very short period of time. In fact, President Obama was in office for 8 years. The Confederacy, no matter what anybody wants to say about it, was based upon the fact that we want to secede from the Union because we want to use slave labor in order to economically profit.
That's exactly what it was. I'm glad you touched on that.
So I see the Confederate flag from 100 yards out, and I can identify that vehicle with that flag in the window or whatever the case may be. I know where you stand.
Yes.
I don't like it.
I have to 110% agree, and this is a very controversial conversation. So I already know
it's hot right now.
It's hot. It's hot, son. I don't care. I stand with you firmly, 110% on that. I understand the history that it has with this country, but it was a history where they were trying to do some things that were wrong, and the side that was trying to do things that were not wrong won. And so why are you upset about, like you said, it was, I believe it was 5 years. We'll touch on 4 or 5. It was less than 5 years.
So 5 years. So 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 5 years.
So we'll say 5 years. 5 years. 5 years.
That's not a heritage.
I've listened to a genre of music for 5 years and then quit it. Like, right. I don't understand. Yeah. So for people who say this is a very strong history that I've had with this,
it's not.
It's really not. There's absolutely no reason for it. But that being said, it is a part of our history.
Yes.
I think this is where I'll probably get some lashback. I like history in general, and history is not pretty at all.
No.
History, and if you read back almost everything that you've ever read, is written by the conquerors or winners of that war.
History is written by the winners.
Exactly. So it's going to be in a certain perspective. That being said, I think it's important for individuals to inform themselves as much as possible. That being said, not like off of a fucking Facebook post that was like, oh shit, this looks good. This is what I base my history off of. No, actual history. Read, inform yourself, and inform yourself from various different sources, because one source is going to be the winner, and that's where you're going to get everything. There's other sources out there that can tell you the whole story of something that's going on. And like you said, that flag represents a lot of negativity. Yeah.
Well, the founder of the flag said himself, like, he sees it as the white race being supreme to all others, in specific to African Americans. Like, that's the way that he looked at that flag. So how do I not look at the person who says, this is what we're going to use for our flag, this is what it's going to stand for? And I was going back and forth with somebody on Twitter, and I said, look, the flag represents a loss. Like, that was the flag, and so he wanted to bring up Great Britain, so I went to the Union Jack. Okay, the Union Jack was established after the Revolutionary War. Mm-hmm. Well, what about Germany? They lost twice. Well, Germany's current flag is the flag that they used after the Union of East and West Germany, right? In 1989. That was not the same flag of 1916 or 1915 when World War I began. It wasn't the flag that the Third Reich used under Adolf Hitler. Like, that is not the same flag. They don't wave those flags anymore. And that's my whole point when I look at this conversation. Why are we even acknowledging this? Like, why would anybody say, hey, I'm proud of this 5-year stretch that we got our ass kicked? Who does that? How does that happen? And I'm a Lions fan. Like, I know about getting my ass kicked. I know about it, man.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
It's
like,
real. It's real is all I'm saying.
And we look at this idea of what America is and is supposed to be. Well, the Founding Fathers, they wrote that for people like themselves. But when they wrote it, becoming the Constitution, it's now available for everyone. Mm-hmm. So if you don't embrace the fact that what makes America interesting, everybody calls it the melting pot. It's not. It's a salad bowl. It's a salad bowl. It's 90% lettuce. Here's a couple tomatoes. Here's some cheese. Whatever you put in your salad, a little dressing. But that's what it is. We haven't.
And it's not mixing as well as it should be mixing.
Right.
And I think once it. Okay, so here's something I have to say. Mm-hmm. I'm super thrilled about the movement that's going on right now. I'm super thrilled about Black Lives Matter. I'm super thrilled that they're standing up. I'm super thrilled that they're acknowledging that for a long time they've been oppressed in a way that they shouldn't be oppressed. And I'm talking about outside of the civil rights movement. I'm talking about outside of everything where they're equal and yet treated differently. And I'm super excited about that not only because, but I'll say in addition to the reason that I've been treated that same way in many different times, but not just myself. I'm not like trying to bring some attention to me. I'm saying Asians have been treated this way as well. I'm saying a lot of different cultures have been treated this way as well. And I don't think it's right, because the whole point of it, like you said, is for all of us to be a melting pot, for all of us to be equal here. We get here, and this is a place where we all have the same opportunities. And yet, for some reason, we're not all getting those same opportunities.
Not for one reason.
Yeah.
Not for some. No, we know.
We know.
No, we know what the reason is. We know what the reason is.
But I'm trying to be as fair as possible.
Yes.
The thing is we should all be, this is America, and we should all be on equal ground here. and we're not.
No.
The starting points for all of us are very different. So while some people may look at this and watch this video and say, of course, this is America, we're all equal. We're not, because we didn't start off at all in the same place on this race. And there's a lot of people who got left behind.
Yeah.
And so if you started out way over there and I started here, the reason I'm in the situation that I'm in is because you started that race way before me. You started doing that way before I was legally even allowed to do that.
Gotcha.
So you have all this land and you make businesses off of this and you have money incoming from these businesses where I can't even own a patch of land. How can I ever reach the level where you're at? And then X amount of years later, they say, oh, now you can own the land. You already own all that land and you're already exercising all of those rights. Now you're giving me the opportunity to do it. I am behind. And on top of that, I am not educated in the way that I should invest into this. So how am I ever going to reach the level or capacity of where you're at, where A, I have a way less of a start than you do, and B, I am less informed than you are in the traditional ways. So I'm obviously way more less informed in the now. How does everything work and how do you make these things happen?
But Valdi, that's the goal. The goal is that I show you this carrot, but I know that you can't get to that carrot. So if I show you this carrot, but I don't give you the resources to get there, the same resources that I would give, let's say, for instance, my children. You know, so I like to bring this up to people when I have these conversations because I went on this onslaught on Twitter and I'd posted a lot of it to Instagram and I got a lot of feedback and comments from it, which wasn't the purpose of it. It was just the purpose of like, hey, I know the position that I am in and I know that it is now my responsibility to speak for those who don't have the same opportunity that I have in order to have a dialogue with people who may look like me, to realize that, you know, this person here that doesn't look like you is not your enemy. Number one. Number two, this person here will not have the same, as you mentioned, the race, the starting line is completely different. So when I go out, I'm usually the minority in my group of friends. And how could that happen? From where I'm from the family that I'm from, how does it happen? Because I can relate more to people that actually don't look like me than people that do look like me. Because I look at the way that my mother works, the way that her brother works, the way that their father worked. I look at that and I acknowledge that and the fact that they've always lived within these barriers of work. And then I see the other side of the fence to where some of my relatives are, to where they work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5s, and that's that. And it's like, okay, so we have one group of people here that are working twice as hard that don't get that same opportunity because they're small business owners. They turn the lights on, they turn the lights off, and that's the way that it works. And it's every day of the week. They count the money, they make sure that the payroll is done, the schedule is made, all these different things that go into running a small business.
Technicalities.
The brutal part of it,
yes.
Right? And it's your business, right? And it was your father's business, and it was his father's before him. But how did he get that opportunity to start that business? And that is the starting block that so many people don't have.
And it's hard to understand that, though.
It's so it's
here's
so
the thing. Here's the thing. It's 2020. So people only see literally what's right in front of them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, a lot of the work that goes into something is missed. Can we
touch on something that really bothers me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Really bothers me.
Please. Oh.
So this really bothers me because there was this whole build the wall thing. Right? And I find it very intriguing because to me, you have a group of people south of Texas, right? I'll call it south of Texas, a.k.a. Mexico and Central America. You have people willing to do whatever it physically takes to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a group of people that are here that are mad. They say, well, they're taking our jobs. Well, wait a minute. You're raising kids that won't do that job. So your children, fed with this silver spoon, right, are too good to do job X, Y, or Z. And these individuals here will do whatever it takes to get that job. And I assimilate that to sports, right? I think that I'm ultra gifted. Right. And my kid's the star of the team.
Yeah.
But he's not willing to do the work to actually become the star of the team. So that kid that might have been really good in 5th grade, all of a sudden by 7th or 8th or 9th grade, isn't very good anymore. And that's because he's not willing to put in the work and the effort that it takes to be great while other people are. And so because I work in sports, I assimilate everything to sports.
Okay.
And I see people that are willing to put in the time, the effort, and the energy to do the little things. So if we said it was basketball, blocking out, rebounding, playing good defense. They're not worried about scoring points right now. We can't worry about scoring points right now. I got to do my job the best I can to set my team up. And so when you have a family that immigrates to America from south of the border, whoever the first one is doing everything that they possibly can to set their team up in the right position. And that's how maybe their children can get into a better school or get into college. And now all of a sudden you have the first Hispanic person to be a general manager of an NHL team down in Arizona with the Coyotes. And it's like, that's how that happens. It's because somebody had to get in there first, dig that trench, and set their team up properly because your kid wasn't willing to do the work. I can't respect that kid. I can't. I personally can't. I got to respect the guy that I walked here. I fucking walked here. You know what I'm saying?
I agree 110% with what you're saying.
Like
is
that,
you have to put in
more
the,
than anything.
You have to put in the groundwork.
You gotta lay the foundation.
You have to lay the foundation to build off of it. And if you're simply trying to build without any foundation, your house is shit. Very simply
100%.
put. Very simply put. And I agree with you 100%. And I see that all the time where expectations are beyond the work structure that they're putting in to meet those expectations. Because you can say, I deserve this. But if you don't build the foundation to build this, how do you get to this? Or do you expect the foundation to be built by others and then build upon that, which has happened multiple times in history?
And do you carry your flag? And what I mean by that is, so whether it's your family, whether it's your country, you might take a lot of pride in if you immigrate here, do you carry your and whatever that banner might be, whatever that flag might be, like I'm here and now I represent everybody who looks like me or carries the same name. So you're damn right. I'm going to do whatever it takes to be successful at this position.
I love it. Yes. And to put it very simply, yo cargo mi bandera 100% a todo lo que yo he hecho aquí en este país, a todos los que vinieron antes que yo estaba aquí, para hacer lo que yo estoy haciendo ahora. Porque si no, yo no estuviera donde estoy ahora. So 110% I agree that the foundation that I have was built upon who I've become as a person, which is by the way that I was raised, and my own motivations and drives to be better at all times. And I don't mean to be better as in like, I'm Cuban. My mother and father came from Cuba. I'm 100% Cuban, but I was born in the United States, so I'm 100% American. So I'm 100% American built off of Cuban parts, simply put. And I love both of my foundations. I love my foundation here in America because of the way this country came to be and the purpose that this country has for people like myself. It was literally built upon people like myself to become something better than what it was. If you take the best of everything and put it all together, you have a completely whole new different thing, which is what America is supposed to be. The best of fucking everything. And you build on that and you make it even better than that. But you take my roots onto where my people came from, and that is a solid foundation of what America is. And I'm not the only foundation. I'm not saying Cubans are the foundation of what this country is.
No,
I'm saying literally, every ethnicity, every different race has had a place in this country being what it is, whether it comes to restaurants and getting different food, whether it comes to the work ethic placed into this country to build what it is today. Any of those subjects, any of those talking points, it was built upon different ethnicities coming here to build something better for everyone. Cubans didn't come here building a better place for Cubans. They came here building a better place for everybody. African Americans didn't have much of a choice in the way that they came here, but they still built this country up to be better for everyone.
Right.
And that's very important.
And when will they get their shot to be everyone?
When will they?
When will they get their opportunity? And the best way that
Agreed.
I saw it from a comedy show that was a couple of years ago, but it popped up on my Instagram feed and it said, okay, I'm saying Black Lives Matter. I'm not saying your life doesn't matter. I'm just saying that, hey, we exist. Can we just come to the agreement that we exist?
We exist. We matter.
I start laughing and I go on further and he's like, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, whatever. All lives matter. He's like, well, in September, when you say September 11th, never forget, I'm going to wear a shirt that says all buildings matter.
I saw that.
Oh, it was hilarious because it was crucially to the point that if your ankle hurts, tape your ankle. Well, right now we have an ankle sprain. We need to tape our ankle. Why are so many people pushing back to the idea that, hey, wait a minute, we need to maybe reassess and relook at how we view all of ourselves as Americans here in this country?
This is what I see with the movement that's occurring right now. This has never been addressed properly, ever. In the history of everything that's gone on, there's never been a very direct conversation and answer to the questions that we have as far as how everything has come about. Mm-hmm. I think this is the first time where people have said enough is enough. They want dialogue opened up, and they just want to be equal. Like, they're not asking to be, like, Black lives are superior. They're not asking for that.
Nobody said that.
Nobody said that. They're saying Black lives matter. Like, they're not saying they're above, they're not saying they're below. They're saying, like, we matter. And people are still upset by that. Like, why are you, if you're upset by saying Black lives matter on the same level that all of our fucking lives matter, when people like retaliate to Black Lives Matter by saying all lives matter.
I know where you stand.
It gets on my fucking nerve. I know where you stand. The point is, Black lives matter. Do you agree, yes or no? Yes. 110%. You don't even need anything else out of me. Like, you say that statement, I agree 110%. But the way they're treated right now doesn't reflect that statement. And it needs to reflect that statement. I think that out of this whole movement, it's being taken serious enough that where it can get on that level. I hope so. And I hope this movement continues. I really do. And I support this movement until it gets to that point.
And I think that a lot of this is that we are the first generation to approach this from a highly educated standpoint. A majority of our young people, the standard, the expectation is that you will achieve a level of higher education, right? So, like my grandmother did not go to high school. She didn't go to high school. 8th grade is the level that she reached. So when you go to an area of higher education, you are exposed to different people from different countries, different languages, different cultures, different races, and you begin to, at an educated level, have a dialogue or work with people or see people or meet people. You go from your small town to a college campus to where it's like, oh, wait a minute, we do have a lot of the same ideas and a lot of the same principles. You just come from somewhere else. You have really good food. This is what I have to offer. You might not like it. It's kind of bland. Add some salt. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And we're the first generation to deal with this to where education is a standard. It's almost like a prerequisite in America. So when I think that the reason this movement this time around in regards to maybe where Martin Luther King was at, he lays the foundation. But you can't get to the successful standpoint that I believe we're at right now without education, because that's all it is. It's educated people versus ignorant people.
I agree. And there were certain people that were more educated during that time that are more educated now. Now, mind you, very educated, very correct in the way that they were doing everything. But the way that we access information now is very different than that time. Mm-hmm. So we all have access to that same information now. So there's no playing I'm ignorant. There's no playing I don't know. Look it up. Google. We literally have so many search engines where you can look at all the history that has been written down. You can look at all of these things and make your own decisions. And where you make your decision tells me a lot about you as a person, because there is no I didn't know or I didn't go to the library and read these books. You can literally just Google it and get that information. So it's a heck of a time to be alive. I'm very happy with the movement that's going on now. I'm very excited in the way that they're doing and handling things right now. Some of the times there is violence. I think it's the media portrays things in a completely different light, so I'm not going to get into that. But the important part is they're making people listen. They're making people know how hurt they are, and that is important. That is super essential, because we cannot move forward until we know the level of pain that they're at. We cannot move forward until we accept the things that have been done wrong. And we cannot move forward until we all understand what's going on and then build off of that. But we can't do that until this happens. Like, until this eruption, like, this is a literal eruption. This is not normal. This is something out of the norm.
And it's global.
And we need that. And it's global. All in different countries, they're doing the same thing.
Australia,
Germany,
England,
London, everywhere is doing this right now. And I am super happy about that. I support that 120% in all of these movements, because I feel it's the correct thing. I feel it's not like they're asking for superiority. They're literally asking to be equal. Yeah. And that should already be.
And I think the idea behind it, like from those who are in power, is why would you not want contributing members to society? You know, you look at our prison rate, you look at who's imprisoned, and it's like, okay, well, how do we change that behavior? Well, some people don't want to change that behavior. They actually encourage.
It's beneficial.
Right. They encourage the sale of narcotics, or
mostly it's beneficial for monetary value.
Absolutely.
It's not beneficial for ourselves as a human race.
No.
As a human race, there's a lot of things that we need to do to expand and to exceed. But we keep dividing within ourselves for little stuff. And like you said, there's certain groups that, for monetary value, do whatever it takes to keep that monetary value, even if it's hurting everything else around us, pretty much.
And it doesn't make any sense. And so for me, as a person who might have an outlet, might have a platform, like, okay, like I will use it to speak.
Absolutely, 107%. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I'll use it to speak on behalf of my friends who might not have the same opportunity.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like, getting a voice is hard. Like, making your voice heard is hard, especially with all the noise going on right now. There's a lot of noise, man. A lot of noise. So it's hard to get your voice out there. So for any platform that I have, it's good to be able to express that and feel 100% confident in what I'm saying. Like, it's real easy to say these things because I feel this way. It's real simple.
And you live it.
Yeah.
So you view things from a different lens than the quote-unquote majority.
Yes.
Because, you are first generation.
I know.
And I think that that's something that, story about Poco Loco. So I learned about Carlos Poco Loco from, I don't know if this is the president of La Presna. They were doing Latino night at the MudHens. Okay. I start chopping up with him. I start speaking a little bit of Spanish to him. He's like, oh my God, you speak. I'm like, calm down.
Okay.
Tranqui, por favor. So we start chopping up a little bit, and I explained to him that, my best friend is Puerto Rican and Panamanian. He is a first generation American. And he says, you got to go to Carlos Poco Loco. So I'm like, okay. So I was like, hey, Gian, we got to check out this restaurant. It's Mexican and Cuban. And he's like, tranquilo, por favor. I'll be the judge.
I'll judge this
we
place.
We walk in. the music, the flags, the atmosphere, the hostess. He was like, yo, where have we been? Like, what?
Why did we miss this?
Yeah. And he said, my people. And for him, it was so important to be able to share and experience and have, English is a second language for him. So he can come in and feel like he's almost at home. The cooking is almost at home. The people are almost like they're at home, but they're all here.
That energy.
Oh,
you feel the energy. When you walk in here, you feel that energy.
And you bring that culture to life to where it's like, hey, I might not be this, but this arroz con guandule is good, man. Like, I might not be this, but I can enjoy this.
But I can enjoy this.
And I can enjoy the people.
Enjoy the positive vibes.
And the music and the culture and everything about it. Like, I can come here and I can have an experience to where, as he said, this feels like home.
That's great.
And to him, that was important. And we've been a Poco Loco ever since.
Yeah, I love this place.
You know what I'm saying? Because you can't walk in somewhere and see a bunch of, no offense, you can't see a bunch of gringos working. That's not what I came here for.
You
know what I'm saying?
Like, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And nothing against it, but something's not right.
Right.
Now, I have a couple other subjects that I want to touch here with.
Yo, can we take an intermission? I got to go to the bathroom.
Jesus Christ, you read my mind. I was thinking the same thing. So I'm gonna let you go first.
We'll be right back. Let's pay these bills. Commercial break.
Dale. Okay, we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back. That was very simple. To touch on everything that we've talked on, I agree with you. I'm very happy with the movement that's going on, and I can't wait to see what comes out of everything that's happening right now. One of the big subjects is all the statues being torn down. One of the big subjects is the flag being banned. Cartoons depicting less violence. There's a lot of changes that are happening literally at this instant as we speak. I'm sure there's a lot of people having meetings on how to proceed. A lot of companies coming out and saying Black Lives Matter and supporting. PlayStation and Xbox being two big ones that were very, very, very big and prominent on not doing new releases or doing anything to take attention away from what is going on in the country right now. And I think that speaks volumes to them. I think there's a lot of other companies that are just jumping on and saying certain things, and that's typical to be expected. But I feel that overall the wave is happening where people are paying attention. You can't look away from this. This is what's happening. And I agree with it 100%. Even in some situations where I don't feel they're doing the right things. This is going to sound so contradictory to what I'm saying. Even where I feel they're not doing the right things, I feel they're doing the right things to get attention. And they need it. Mm-hmm. And it deserves to be in that direction. So while we may not agree with burning buildings, with looting, with some of those negative statements that are being made, I think that they're necessary to get the attention on the subject as much as it is. And without those other things, you would have another Kaepernick who's doing a peaceful protest and gets zero reward, zero anything, zero outcome, zero movement out of it until it becomes what it is now. And now people are like, he was correct, or maybe we should protest this. He is absolutely correct. And the things that have gone wrong, I didn't want to protest before, but now I think I should protest because there's a lot of things going on. So I think it's, to me, I'm completely happy with what's going on in that regard. I hope that it gets noted, but I hope that it doesn't stop. And when I say I hope that it doesn't stop, I hope that we reach peaceful conclusions, obviously. But I hope that they get heard enough and they make legislative moves and changes on a more base level that can make some real changes to how they are affected and how we are all affected. And when I say how we all are affected, as a minority, I've been affected plenty by racism. Plenty of stories, plenty of stupid stuff that I've dealt with. past and recently, like very recently. And I think we've, and I say we as us minorities here, all minorities have felt that, and it hurts to be treated in a way that is unfair with what you've put in for this country, or what you put in for your city, or what you put in for your town, or what you put in for your state. I feel it's unfair for us to try to make such positive impact and get hit with such negativity. And I think this is putting a spotlight on all of that. Not just, and again, the spotlight is Black Lives Matter, but the spotlight is shining on so much more than that. And I support it 110%.
You know, and I listen to what you're saying, and the first thing that I think of is leadership, and leadership comes from the top. And I think that, you know, this might rub some people the wrong way, but our current president isn't doing too much to unify us. And I think that with the division that is created, as you look at the Black Lives Matter movement, a majority of people would say, well, yeah, that makes sense. But the very vocal minority who are standing their ground with their Confederate flag and their, 45 sticker in their window, they're looking at this, and this is, it has opened up a window of opportunity to, instead of maybe I try to learn, maybe things aren't what I thought they were, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I can educate myself based upon what are my preconceived notions of this person based upon whatever is out there, your bias, because children, you look at that video of the little white kid and the little black kid, they come together.
Oh, I
and
love
they're
that
hugging
video.
in the street.
Yeah.
Like, children just want to play. They don't care who they're playing with.
Yeah.
It's their parents who tell them who they can and can't play with. And what has happened is there is a very vocal group of people that don't want that to matter, that don't want that to change. And this is why I continue to say this is education versus, it's intelligence versus ignorance. Because I think that the more intelligent people who look like myself, we have the opportunity now to bridge that gap.
I love it.
And the sooner that happens, the better it is for us as a whole, as a collective, as a country, as a society. We need more moving, contributing parts. And if you break up a family because of a simple traffic stop, that now you throw 30 charges at somebody just because, this is, they talk about all the time, when there was this video that was done where they lined up all these kids and they were going to race. You mentioned the race.
Mm-hmm.
Take a step forward.
I
literally just saw that?
I saw it a while ago,
Yeah.
and I literally just rewatched it today because it's as relevant now as to when the video came out.
Absolutely. And if you were taking people out of the community, a father figure, for example, on a routine traffic stop, he's now got 5, 6, 7 charges against him over nothing, over a speeding ticket. You know what I'm saying? That's what the people are protesting. Because you took that father out of the picture, now you've set the child up or children up for failure.
Yeah. To fall back into the same routine, which is what created this indifference in the first place.
And some people enjoy that. Some people want that.
Now, can I say something?
Yeah.
Since we've touched on this subject for quite a while, and I want to say something about Toledo. I love our cultural differences here, and I feel like Toledo is fantastic about different minorities coming together. I love the way Toledo comes together. I've had my problems here with racism, and I've had my problems here for sure, 110%. But it's never been a forefront or emphasis of the city, and it's never been a majority of the people here. It's a minority of the people here. So while I'm the minority in ethnicity, in their racism, or in their ignorance, their point of view on life, they are the minority, because I've received tremendous support from the city, tremendous love from this city, from all races, like all races. And with everything going on right now, I've dealt with TPD on different occasions, and I've always had a very positive experience with them. So it would be an atrocity for me to say I need change, I need this because I've dealt with this. It's false for me. I know many other people may have dealt with different circumstances, but I've always had positive situations when dealing with TPD here, when dealing with a majority of the people here. And that's one thing that I greatly appreciate and love about this city. Yes, there are some situations that didn't go accordingly. They didn't go in a positive manner. But those are definitely outweighed by my positive experiences that I've had here.
You know, Chief Krull does a great job, I think, with TPD. We do a coat drive every winter. We go to a local diner over on Monroe Street. They bring the paddy wagon. People bring in coats. They get discount off their breakfast. Pretty simple. You end up using the coats, like drop them off because TPD will take them to, situate. They'll throw a couple in each patrol car. And if you show up somewhere and somebody needs something, and I think that the same way you can't paint a race with a broad brushstroke, you can't do the same thing to police officers.
Agreed.
And does there need to be more of an educational element to it? Probably. Does there need to be more of a training just outside of weapons training and in physical hand-to-hand combat? Yeah, more than likely. But my dad was a cop. He was in the United States Marine Corps and then became a police officer. He graduated the Marine Corps, applied for the police station, the Monroe County Sheriff's Department. They're like, oh, what do you got? He's like, I just exited the Marines. Like, here's a gun, here's a badge, do your thing. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, so maybe we need more than that. But my father is a good person, and I know that because I see it on a daily basis. So I think that when you look at police-civilian relations, it's very delicate, but if you're the police, to serve and protect, right? So serve and protect. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing that, if you're fulfilling your oath, then you're in good shape.
Agreed.
And if you're a civilian, stop breaking the law. You know what I'm saying? Like, quit. Yeah. Don't do a light B&E. There's no reason to break into anything. Yeah. There's no reason to steal anything. You know what I'm saying? No. So things like that, need to be addressed and need to be changed. But it's a
now people are going to bring up stuff like they didn't do anything wrong and they were this, and there's certain situations that
absolutely.
I'm not saying that there's not. I'm saying that there are a lot of police officers that are doing their job, and honestly, I greatly respect what you're doing, especially now. It's a hell of a time. To all the good police officers out there, the ones who legitimately join to help people and to create a better society, I appreciate what you're doing on a level that you probably can't see because of everything that's going on right now. It's hard. And when we talk about police need to be this way, need to be that way, and you guys are already doing that thing and probably aren't getting as much of a light shown on you as you should, I want to shine as much of a light as possible on you guys because there would be a lot of chaos without you guys right now. And I love what you're doing. Please keep it up, even with all the noise that's being made, with everything going on. Try to understand us as a society. Everything that's going on hurts us, and we're just trying to get to a better place. But I speak on behalf of myself. I love you guys. I appreciate what you're doing. I want to thank you for what you guys are doing. With that being said, there are some elements out there that aren't doing that great of a job and need some adjustment. And I think that's the whole point of the movement that's going on right now is, as a police officer, it's a tough job. Matter of fact, I don't.
Nobody's calling you to drop off breakfast.
Yeah, I don't even have a right to speak on the jobs that they have daily, pulling over people, risking their lives, just trying to help everything. I don't feel that I have that much of a right to speak on it. That being said, I have enough of a right to say that there needs to be more of those good ones and there's going to be bad ones at every job I've worked at, dude. I've had some bad coworkers, man.
There's bad doctors, bad pharmacists, bad everything.
There's bad everything. Yeah. The only problem that I have with that is that the bad ones in that particular job department need to be called out a little bit more, because it's not you letting your department down by saying this person's doing a bad job. It's you lifting society up by saying that person's doing a bad job, and our standards are higher than that. So while I feel, again, it's very out of my place to speak about some of these things, it's also my right to speak in general. So I will say that I feel that a good percentage of them are doing a fantastic job. The problem is that small percentage that's doing a bad job, a small percentage of a large scale is still a lot of people. It's still a lot of people. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed, and I'm glad that it's being addressed the way it is. That being said, I want to veer off this conversation because there's a lot of things about the city that are very positive. And I'd like to touch base on those things, like the alcohol delivery. I'd like for that bill to pass on 4 a.m. being the new standard set for alcohol sales as opposed to 2 a.m. I'm very much looking forward to that, coming from bigger cities that already have this in place. I think it'd be nice for us being a medium-sized city to have that option. So halfway through right now did I touch base on that already or not?
Bill, briefly when we started, but
okay.
I don't know.
So yeah.
A little background.
Yeah. So there is some legislation in place right now. It's halfway through where it would allow for facilities to sell alcohol until 4 a.m. as opposed to 2 a.m. And sell alcohol on Sundays as well, which I think is a very big deal. And I love that we're at least pushing for it. Whether we fail, succeed, whatever, at least the noise is finally being made around a later time for those. I think there's a lot of places that wouldn't want something like that in place. Poco Loco being one of those. Like, I don't see this being an establishment to stay open until 4 a.m, but I think there's a lot of other establishments that are about staying open later, and me being open to those ideas and partying until 4 a.m, I think that it's great that places would have that choice. So I really do hope it goes through. It would help a lot with sales. A lot of places have to lose sales after 2 a.m. Sorry, we have to close. We don't have a choice, this and that. At least if you do close, it's your choice to close in that matter. This is assuming that the everything passes. It would be your choice to close at 2 a.m. and not being forced to close at 2 a.m. So if you have a crowd of 30 people and they're still bringing in money, that's stimulating your little economy for wherever you're at to have those people paying for drinks and doing whatever it is that they're doing. And me being from a bigger city, that's very normal to be out that late on a weekend doing whatever it is you're doing. So I hope that it passes all the way through. I really do. I hope that a lot of places don't accept it and don't stay open. I know it's weird for me to say that, but I hope that a lot of other places do accept it and do stay open until 4 a.m, so that at least you have that choice where if you want to continue to party, you can continue that partying.
You ever been over to Los Dos Gallos?
No.
Really?
Really?
Off of, what is it, Dorr Street, maybe?
Never been there.
Deep off of Dorr Street, like past the bunker, past Inverness, like past all that.
Nope.
I ended up
definitely
there
never been
with a couple of people that you know. I ended up over there one night, and it was like, hey, if they could just keep serving, we could keep going. They had a DJ, they had dancing, the amount of older people that were in there having a great time. And to me, you look at some of the bigger cities, Chicago, New York, Detroit is very much a 2 a.m. type of deal right now. And as Detroit goes, Toledo kind of goes. I've always kind of said that because the way that the auto industry has affected the economies here in both cities, we are very much a miniature Detroit. It's really...
I've always said that.
Yeah,
Mini Detroit.
That's exactly what Toledo is. It's a miniature Detroit. So I would like to see it, the sales end of it, operate until 4. I think that we have enough options to be able to get home. Now, I'm one of those people that I don't need to be out till 4. You know, I could go home at midnight and get a good night's sleep. You know, I'm a little older. But for the younger crowd, like, it might be worth it. For business owners, why not?
There's nights where I want to turn in early, and there's nights where I want to turn in late. So for me, just having that option is
right.
fantastic.
As a consumer.
If I want to turn it down, I turn it down. But there's nights where I want to go out and party. I'm 33. I'm old/young. I'm right in that middle age.
Middle age.
Yeah. I'm right in that middle age where it's like I could be a young kid or I could be an old man, depending on the night. Is it a full moon? Where the tide's rolling?
Is Mercury in retrograde?
Oh no, tonight is not a good night. The energy levels are all on. So depending on that night, I could do a fun night out and stay out till 4 a.m. A celebration, let's say a birthday party or whatever the case may be, where you want to continue that kind of action, or just a regular whatever night, and you're just like, no, I'm going to turn in early. It's nice to have those options in place. So I really hope it goes through and that businesses decide what they want to do. Even if they want to decide to still close at 2, I'm okay with that. It's nice knowing that there's the option to stay open till 4. And if it's business purposes, let's say they don't make enough money to, you know, even think about staying open till 4, I completely understand that. I can get behind that 100%. But for other businesses that are like, we'd love to continue at 3, 4 in the morning, but we are legally not allowed, it's nice to have that option to legally be allowed to do that. So I hope it goes through and gives people and businesses that choice to do those kind of things. I think that'd be really nice. And I think that's a great step into entering like that larger city lifestyle where you have those options. And I think that'll bring, I hate to say bring in people, but it will. Like people from Michigan that already come down here to enjoy what we have down here, to enjoy it for a longer period of time. I think that'll bring more noise and more attraction this way, which means more money for our economy.
You look at Toledo, and I know a lot of people make jokes about ProMedica, but without ProMedica and the employment opportunities they provide, what do we have? You know, you look at the eBite Institute right over here, and it's like, did you know that this is what they call a food desert, this area that we're in? Because there isn't a grocery store for all the residents here within so many miles, except for the eBite Institute right here that has a grocery store on the first floor. And on the second floor, they'll actually teach you how to cook. Did you know that?
I did not know that
The
at
little
all.
grocery store right over here in the hospital building.
I had zero idea about that.
And it was Randy Oster's idea, because he was like, okay, so if you grab an eggplant, you know what to do with it. Upstairs, they have a full kitchen. They can teach you what you can do with an eggplant. And it's because, you know, you have to teach people how to cook. And because there's not a grocery store down here. And now you have all these residents moving in. We have a brand new complex on the other side of the river, on the opposite side, on the east side, across from the Cherry Street Martin Luther King Bridge. And it's like, okay, now you're going to have X amount of residents there. They're hoping to have some retail, maybe a bar. Like, the development has to continue. You have to continue to have people in employment opportunities. You look at Amazon over in Northwood or Rossford or wherever it's going to be like that. That is huge. You have to have opportunities for corporations to have a benefit for why should they invest in your city. And if it means they get a tax break, give them the tax break, because how many people are going to have an opportunity to be employed? How many people might move to this city, which not only do you bring in their income tax, you bring in their property tax or homeowners association fee or whatever they might pay if they live in an apartment. But then you bring in the sales tax off the goods that they purchase. Like, it only makes sense that if you have a commercial investment here, to be able to support that from a city standpoint, I think it's huge.
I agree. And only in the fact that it's beneficial to both parties.
100%.
And that's what you're stating right now with the tax breaks, and people get upset about that. Paying $0 in taxes, that's baloney.
People
that
get
a company
upset over Jeff Bezos because he doesn't pay taxes, right? But like, Jeff Bezos has created how many jobs for people that pay taxes? Like,
and how much is he paying people for those jobs? He's paying them above and beyond the job methods that they're doing.
And McDonald's is a real estate company. Don't get it twisted. They just happen to sell hamburgers.
McDonald's owns more real estate We're not even. You
Yeah.
know what? I already
crazy,
know you know
right?
that.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
not going to get into that.
You got to do it. You got to employ people.
Okay, people should be informed on these kind of things. But I agree 110% with what you're saying with Amazon, Jeff Bezos, the businesses that they're doing right here in Toledo, with the old malls that we had here, that we were literally doing nothing with that space, and now we're employing people to work there. That's phenomenal. And if it means that by them employing people locally here and creating jobs, and I believe it's over 1,000 jobs that they're creating here locally, that they then get a tax break for it, I understand it, and a lot of people aren't going to like it, but it's a great business move because it's beneficial to Amazon. Obviously, they're getting that tax break, but it's beneficial to the community. As long as it's beneficial to both parties, I completely understand where they're coming from. At any point where they create a monopoly and it's a little different, then I'll beg to differ, and I'll say, hold on, that we deserve other options. But there's really, who else is trying to compete with them? Who else is trying to create jobs locally here in our community? Who else is creating the jobs with the benefits, with the guarantee? There's nobody else. So as long as it's only that company, I support you because you're supporting our community. At the moment that you try to decrease value or hurt our community, then I don't like that anymore. Then I think we need to put things in place. But I've seen nothing but positives, honestly. Like, I've seen nothing but good things. It's just people who only see one side of it. They're not paying taxes. Attack them. But what are they doing in your community? What are they doing for you as a service?
What have they done to your property value?
Yeah. So like, so it comes with information. Depending on what information you have, you can see it as a pro or a con. But inform yourself.
Can I tell you something that really bothers me?
You can tell me anything.
Bro, they should have built the casino downtown.
Shut the fuck up.
They should have put the casino right on the other side of the river. 100%.
No.
You should be able to get to the casino from downtown. It's either got to be on our side of the river or on the opposite side, but they should have put it right there.
I don't know.
What if you had a ferry service, Valdi's Ferries? It was a boat that you're walking around downtown. You're like, I want to catch a hot hand in a dice game. You hop on Valdi's ferry service, and you just shuttle them across the river. Boom, right there in the casino. Next thing you know, they catch a hot hand in a dice game. Clackety clack.
I'm about to create a ferry service, bro. Stop. Stop, because I'm like, yo, I can get to the casino right now.
Right now, right up the mommy.
I can't afford a ferry, so I'm going to have a paddle boat. Everybody.
We just got a pontoon.
Everybody.
We can all go in on a pontoon. Me, you, Felipe, Aldo, we get a pontoon.
We're golden, bro. We got a motor. Just hop on, sit down. We'll take you right over there. I like that they built the casino where it's at. I understand it's outside of Toledo and it's technically Rossford, but land and location-wise, I think it fit perfectly.
Yeah?
I do. Where would they have built it on our way?
Right where the apartments are going in right now.
The apartments, that has been in negotiations for so many years.
Hundreds of years.
And fails. Not hundreds.
Hundreds of years.
Not thousands of years ago. Bro, that is...
Christopher Columbus was coming to the mall meeting. He's like, put a casino there.
Right there. No, there wasn't that long. But they've been trying to do something there. Mm-hmm. And now, okay, so that being said, I don't even know the name of the bar that is right there. There's a bar where they built those apartments right on the Cherry Street / Martin Luther King Bridge. What is the name of that bridge at this point? Because I still call it the
Cherry Street Bridge?
Martin Luther King / Cherry Street Bridge. It's both.
Both.
Is it both?
Yeah, it's both.
Okay. All right, it's both.
Both works.
So right over that bridge, more towards the east side of Toledo, they have those apartment buildings, which look fantastic. I have not been inside of there. Mind you, whoever is watching these videos, if I could take a tour of those apartments, I'd greatly appreciate that, just to get a little bit more input. I'm gonna have to figure out who actually is doing.
Put that
there.
together. Bring him in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if you're watching this, I'm gonna get into those apartments. I'm gonna call somebody. I'm gonna make some moves. I'm gonna get into those apartments and actually take a look at them because they look great, but I've never been inside, so I want to see them. Restaurant though, restaurant / bar was great. I loved it. Now, as soon as that opened up, the very first topic of conversation is gentrifying the east side of Toledo. And I don't know what stance I take on that because I don't have enough information yet to take a stance on that. I like what is being done there. I like those apartments, and I like the bar. I like the food. I like the drinks. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The buildings that were there initially, what was it? There was a car wash there, and there was a BP gas station that nobody used. So the gas station doesn't bother me at all. The car wash does bother me because I love that fucking car wash. I need to figure out what happened to that car wash because that car wash was phenomenal. I have no problems with the car wash that was there. Mind you, they tore all that down. They built those apartment buildings. Great. And they built a bar right there for the people who are in those apartment buildings. Great. I feel like those are all pluses. I feel like those are all positive changes that we've made. And yet I hear the conversation that now we're being gentrified over there. I like what's being done. It's a positive thing. It's bringing more people over to that side.
Yep.
It's bringing positive things to that side. So what if maybe I'm missing where local people want to do more, or I don't know what I'm missing. So if anybody is upset about what's going on with those things moving in, I'd love some more information on it because maybe I'm just not as informed. But I can tell you right now that I love the positivity that those things are bringing in. If there's negativity that I'm missing, please inform me because I feel like these are all good changes that are being made. And I hope they continue, to be completely honest.
Gentrification is such a difficult topic because
that is.
When you look at the positive, let's say in our instance, those apartment complexes, and how that increases the property value of all the homes. And when you increase the property value, you increase the tax rate. When you increase the tax rate, you now have increased the monetary, experience or monetary gain of the high school that is right there, that is Waite. And so, you look at that and you're trying to weigh the pros and the cons of the people that are there that might be forced to move because maybe they can't pay their tax bill, but maybe there's some value there in them selling their property if they own, or maybe they rent. I don't know. But gentrification is tough because it's a very much a two-sided coin.
It is.
And it all depends on what side of the coin that you're on. But I think that the one thing we all want is a more sustainable, more viable economy throughout the entire city of Toledo, and that's both east and west of the river.
Agreed. Agreed 110%. And like you said, it's going to be a hard conversation because some people are going to be on one side and some on the other. But I feel like it's raising the value of what you would already own in those locations. The problem is a lot of that is, what do you own or do you rent, or how broad is your knowledge base as investing into properties, or your return on those properties, or your assets versus anything else. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have some kind of knowledge as to what is it doing overall for the neighborhood? Because first and foremost, Toledo is a very community-driven city, so it's very important that we do something positive for our neighborhoods in order for the city to grow. Because once that negativity comes in, it kind of puts a dwindle on anything we're trying to bring up. It's going to bring it down instantly if it goes against the neighborhood. Once you have that established, is it bringing in a positive or a negative gain towards those cities? It's how is it affecting me directly? Do I live on the east side? Do I live on the north, south, west, whatever side you live on? Is it impacting the economy to bring in more people, or is it driving away people? Because whether you live over here and it's affecting this side, we're a city altogether, whether you like it or not. So all the moves that we make affect everybody here. And and it may be a trickle down as to, what's going on the east side only affects the east side, right? But that trickles down as to what happens everywhere else. Or let's say like the bar. I love the bar, the apartments, all that stuff. Is that bringing more people in and making a more positive experience for that whole side? That's where it's going to get tricky, and everybody's going to have a different point of view.
Very interesting that Toledo, if you've been to Chicago, you know that Chicago is one of the most segregated cities in America. And that's just not a black and white segregation. That is a cultural segregation based on black, white, Polish, Italian. I mean, there are neighborhoods, community, the Ukrainian village. Like, it is separate. Depending on where you go in Chicago, you are going to find a certain specific type of person. It's wild over there.
I'm not as informed as you are, obviously.
Yeah,
on
it's
that.
my sister.
I visited Chicago.
Yeah, you visit Chicago. You go up the Miracle Mile. You're on Michigan Ave. John Hancock Building, the restaurants. Maybe you go over.
You visit the landmarks.
Yeah.
I visited the planetarium, the museum, all their main staples there.
Walk to the United Center from downtown. It's like 11 miles. I once walked it. My sister was like, "You did what?" I said,
"What?"
Yeah. I walked to the United Center. She's like, "You didn't get killed." I'm like,
to tell you.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a shot at it.
Yeah.
But it is the most segregated city in America because it's very much separate based on where you're from. It's wild. I
didn't know this. Oh yeah. This is new information.
Yeah. Like, I'm talking the Ukrainian village there. Like, you'll see vehicles that represent businesses that are in Russian, but painted in the Ukrainian colors. They'll have a yellow top and a blue bottom, and it'll be all in Russian because Ukraine once part of the USSR. Mm-hmm. Long story short, whatever. They separate, but that's how it is. And they have butcher shops that are just like that. Like, I was over there and I was looking around and I'm walking in and out of places, just stores, just window shopping and everything else because I wanted to know more. Like, because I'm a very inquisitive person. I feel like Toledo has a little bit of that as well. I feel like that people separate. The river is the east side. You get downtown, right? Then you have where I live, and I always joke around like, hey, Ottawa Hills won't let me in. Like, oh, Sylvania won't let me in. Like, it's a joke to me. But in reality, you look at the taxes and you're like, okay, this is why Ottawa Hills has the #1 public high school in Ohio. Because the taxes are outrageous to live in this weird, strange little cutout.
Paying for it.
Yeah, they are absolutely paying for it. Then you look at Sylvania. You go south to Perrysburg to Rossford. What does that mean to them? Perrysburg to Maumee. What does that mean to them? It's kind of interesting.
It gets crazy. That's nice. So you have a different perspective than what I have
because I'm an outsider
on the information. But I love that. So I like seeing those different points of views. And here's the thing:
we need Little Havana.
No.
We do. That picture right over there. We need a Little Havana. I dreamed about this to build a community that is basically like that strip that you see. Mm-hmm. The buildings are all the different colors or whatever. Have its own little area that's maybe like 3 or 4, 5 city blocks. The building structure, everything. Put a park in for the kids. Boom.
So that's Little Havana, what you're imagining being as a part of the city. Mm-hmm. Us being in 2020, I feel like Little Havana can mean a different. It can be a different thing than what it is. Because Little Havana, when you say that to me, I imagine a bunch of older people playing dominoes and enjoying their city. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I'm imagining Little Havana. Yeah. But in terms of what you're stating, it's what they're doing with the parks right by the bridge, right by the docks. They're building that whole expansion into one big part. Promenade Park, all that. They're building that into more of something for everybody to come down. And so what you're stating for Little Havana that we need is the same thing that I imagine that the city is already doing for places like that. They're putting in place places where we can all go out and hang out and have fun. And I don't think you should have to be from a certain area or from a certain whatever to enjoy those kind of things. I think they're making something for everybody to come together there. And that's what a Little Havana is. Little Havana was built for people who came from Cuba that are like away from what they're used to to have something that they're used to. From Cuba, that country is very different than this country. This country is all work, solitary, do your work, and you can make it somewhere. You have opportunities. Cuba, everybody's equal. It's a communist country. Everybody's on low, but everybody comes together because of that, because everybody's literally on the exact same level. In a place where you still have opportunities to be, to exceed what you would get from a regular job. You can be your own boss. You can be your own owner. You can be whatever you want to be here. But to bring together places like the parks, the things that we're building, gentrifying the east side, whatever you want to call it, I feel like you still have those opportunities, but you still have locations where we can all come together and be on the same level.
How great was Promenade Park for this city?
How great was it?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about like concerts, people, activities, something to do. You have their concert series. It was all right there. You get the overflow into the bar scene downtown. Like, I mean, you look at Promenade Park, some of the acts that they brought in. I didn't ever go. I saw photos. There was nothing there that I was going to go to. They bring Daddy Yankee, maybe I'll show up. Outside of that,
they had the Latino youth summits where
really
the Latino lights. When they did all that, it's always been down at Promenade Park. It's always been down there. When they used to do the fireworks, it was all at Promenade Park. They're trying to expand upon that, and there really wasn't anything down there. But they're building more to try to make it something. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. There's right by it's not COSI anymore, right? It's Imagination Station,
yeah,
son.
It's my people.
We went there for a work event. It was amazing. But right behind there's that park right by the water, and they have games set outside where I've taken my kids to play games with just us, where it's super fun, and they're building upon that. I like that kind of stuff. Like, to me, those are positive experiences. Whereas if you look at it from the outside, you can call it gentrifying, you can call it doing whatever you want tactically. To me, they're creating opportunities for me to go with my family and have fun. And I enjoy that. And I want more of that.
Right.
Like, if you could create more opportunities for me to go down there. I'll spend my money. I have no problem spending my money if it's on a positive experience that brings something good to me and my family. And when I spend my money, that creates something good for the economy, for the city. So we are all winning when we do things like that, as long as it's a positive move. Once that negative connotation comes to it, you're gentrifying. You are forcing people to act a certain way, then not as much stimulus comes out of it. And that's where a problem is. So how well informed are you? Is it really gentrifying? Is it because change is inevitable. Everything changes. Everything evolves. If it doesn't if you're not growing, you're dying. It's very simply put.
We're just like plants.
So I appreciate the growth, and I hope it continues. I love this city. I came here very depressed when I first moved here, and I thought that this city was
but when you came here, there was nothing here.
There was nothing here.
There was nothing here.
It was a different city.
It's the same thing as if you walked downtown Detroit back in 2000. Like, there was nothing there.
There was nothing.
So as the industry comes, as the employment opportunities come, the parks will come, the people will come. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
But you'll have all of that.
So when I got here, I was negative about the city. The city tried to make changes. I felt positive about those changes, and I emphasize on those positives. There are other people who saw negative in the city. They see the positives that are attempting to take place, but they focus on the negatives. And so I feel like they are devaluing our city of what it is. Yeah, we're not the biggest or greatest city in the United States of America, but we are definitely community driven, first of all. And second of all, we are trying to expand on what we have. But we can only do that with the support of the people. And I really, really, really push for the support of the people because there's opportunities in what we're doing here. And I don't think that people see that as much as they see that negativity in some of the things that we're doing. And I think that the way that you shift your view and position insight on what's going on can greatly affect it. So if your viewpoint is strictly negative, I'm sure you can point out a lot of negative things about here. It's
You probably have a very happy life.
do what you do. And if you focus on the positive, you can focus and say there's a million positive things going on. But if you at least try to take an equal standpoint and say, you know, this is messed up, but we're trying to fix it and we're trying to do better. What are you doing about it? Are you trying to make it better or are you trying to make it worse? I feel that we all have our part to play to make everything better.
Well, that's what you're doing right here, right?
Yeah, that's the whole point of this.
That's the whole point. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the point of your program is to take a look at what the city has to offer and how you can maybe expose what it has to offer to people who might not know.
Yeah.
And it's based on your guests. It's based on your topics. It's based on everything you're doing. You know, contacting Poco Loco and be like, hey, can I use this side room with the state of Ohio in the background? You know what I'm saying? But without people like you that are willing to take a chance, willing to invest in something like this that we're doing right now, you don't have that. So you have to have people that have a positive mindset, that have a positive experience in the city, and they can do something positive for it.
I think there's plenty of places here for that. The problem is shedding a lot of light on those places. That's the real problem that I have with everything right now is I'd like more light shed on that. There's a lot of positivity to go on here. And you can, I can take pretty much anything in life and shed some negative or positive light on it. Choose a direction. Choose a topic, whatever you want it to be, and then say speak negative or speak positive. And I guarantee I can do both. Like, it's what you choose to do that creates the outcome that you're looking for. And I choose to look for the positive in the city. And to me, honestly, it's very easy because I think I've been around a lot of other cities. I've traveled a lot. And when it all comes down to it, I've seen a lot of bad places. And I've seen a lot worse than what we have here. And not to say we're in the best position, but we're definitely not in the worst.
But
Can we improve it? Yes. And let's push for that improvement. I'm with you. Whatever you want to push to improve, I'm with you 100%. Let's pursue that. But at least be informed and push it in the right direction. Don't just say something's negative because of no reason, like you're just mad or upset or whatever. You want things to be a certain way. No. How does it overall affect our community? How does it overall affect everybody that's here? And what can you do to change it either way? And which way do you choose to affect it? Because you can choose to affect it in any way that you want to. And that can be good or bad. You know what I mean? It is whatever you choose for it to be.
That was solid.
I'm done. I'm done being solid. All right. So I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
We veered. I don't want to say off topic. This is completely on topic of what I wanted. But I veered off topic of you.
Who cares about me?
I do.
Thanks.
The MudHens.
Yes.
You do commentary on the MudHens?
Yeah, I'm the in-game host there.
In-game host. Mm-hmm. The Walleye.
Public address announcer.
UT?
Public address announcer for football and men's and women's basketball.
Michigan?
Public address announcer for men's and women's basketball.
Where can we watch you at if we wanted to watch a little bit more of you?
Oh, shoot. If they were playing, so, like, for instance, what I do with the Detroit Lions is we host a pregame show. So the doors open at 10 o'clock, and we have a live show that is there. Whole set is built, and it airs in the stadium. So we'll go from 10 until right about kickoff, 10 until noon, because the team wants to have their pregame warm-up stuff. And so we'll go 10 until noon there, and then I'll jump in with a couple of red zone highlights first and second quarter, because their idea is how do we bring the at-home experience to the stadium. And so I'll come back at halftime. We'll have halftime recap, stats, all that kind of stuff. For the MudHens, I'm running around all over the place. I'm in section 104. I'm in 119. I'm in the upper deck. I'm out here in the outfield. Here's a T-shirt. Here's a ball. Stop crying. Move over there. Get out of the camera. Stuff like that. For Michigan, it's a public address, so it's courtside table. Same thing with like at UT. So you sit courtside and Valdi makes this basket. Foul is on Anthony. So on and so forth. The details of the game. Walleye. Down on the ice, so it's public address, very much the same thing. Penalties on number 25, John Smith, 2 minutes hooking, whatever the time of the penalty is. And, that's it.
How would people get a hold of you on social media?
They can find me on Twitter. That's probably where I'm the most active, at AC Bellino, Bellino. That's where, I do all the what's on tap for the morning radio show, because I work in radio in the morning. So, what are we going to be talking about? Once again, it's a local program. In a market like this, a mid-market, a minor league market, you're usually going to get a majority of national programming. So instead of hearing Anthony and Valdi, you'll hear Colin Cowherd or Dan Patrick or Mike and Mike.
Gotcha.
There isn't a whole lot of people like me that work in markets like this. So it's been very unique and kind of a cool opportunity to be able to do morning drive here in Toledo. And I would say that, social media wise, Twitter's the best way.
Okay.
Or on Facebook at Fox Sports 1230, because that's our station, and I'm not on Facebook a whole lot.
It all comes together on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those things. Any normalcy expected as far as sports go, and anything coming back to a regular schedule, anything like that?
Major League Baseball and the Players Association can't get their own heads out of their own asses. It's a huge, huge problem. They're missing a wonderful opportunity right now. The NBA thought that they had a plan. Some of the players are speaking out, led by Kyrie Irving. It's like, hey, let's focus on some of the social issues and worry about basketball later. Whereas Austin Rivers is like, this is the perfect time to highlight what we're talking about.
Yes.
I tend to agree with Austin Rivers because I want sports back. The NHL, they've got phase 2 of their plan to come back. Hopefully their playoffs end of the season. They have a really great idea with 24 teams to where the top 4 teams in each conference will play a round robin, and then 5 through 12 of the seeds, 5 through 12, will play a best-of-5 series, and then they'll figure out the seeding, they'll reseed them, and they'll have their Stanley Cup finals. Nice. I think it's a great idea. Football season, everything should be back to normal, because I think that universities realize they can't survive without football.
They can't.
Football is the engine that drives the car that is college athletics. So if you don't have football, you don't have tennis, you don't have golf.
You don't have money.
You don't have anything.
You don't have funding.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah,
good luck.
Yeah. And
if you're a big school that has a great basketball program, then you're in okay shape. But I think football will be back to somewhat normal. I think by then, too, the COVID-19 situation, people will understand this is something we are not living with from here on out. So, buckle your chin strap, take the necessary precautions.
Love it.
Wash your hands, be sanitary, mind your P's and Q's.
Be as preventative as possible, but it's always a possibility regardless of how preventative you are.
Like measles, chicken pox, anything else. You could get it. It could kill you. Here's the measures we're taking.
Yeah. We're going to be as safe as possible. Don't get me wrong, but it's always a possibility, and being upfront about it is the most important part to me.
And I think the one worrisome topic that no one's really talked about is the walleye season for 2020, 2021. So this upcoming walleye season, because the MudHens are gone, because there's no Major League Baseball. The way that the minor leagues work is that the Major League Baseball clubs pay the salaries of the minor leagues, and the teams, for instance, the Toledo MudHens, they are responsible for operating their own facility and their day-to-day operations, but they're not on the hook for the payroll of the players. The walleye, for example, unless a player is signed to Detroit or Grand Rapids, the Toledo Walleye organization is on the hook for their salary. So if they say, sure, we can come back 50% capacity, Toledo, with our corporate backing and our fan backing, we would be able to support that. But what about the teams in our league? And that's where eyebrows could raise to be like, let's not just say, hey, take everything for granted, we'll be back in October. Let's approach this with the mindset that this might not be a possibility. If it does happen, great. If it doesn't happen, be prepared.
It could be a problem. It could be a problem, or it could be a very good thing. But with the situation the way it is right now, it's best to play safe. They're probably not coming back this season.
Yeah, hens are done. I think that for hockey and for fall sports at the collegiate level, I think we're trending in the right direction.
Good.
Which is a positive because, shit, I need those back.
Get back to a normal schedule and everything.
Get back to my nights and weekends gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you coming on here. I think we've had a great conversation on what's going on, like literally right now. Some very important topics that we touched. I'm sure people will disagree and agree with us on certain points of that, and that's all part of this. I hope that the things that are trending right now and the direction that things are going continue. But I also hope that a little bit of our normalcy comes back as well. And it's tough. I think everybody right now is going through a tough time dealing with a lot of different situations. And it's impacting us all individually, and it's impacting us as a community. One of the main things that I want to touch on here, and one of the main points of this whole podcast, is to at least bring some light onto what's going on and give us some different viewpoints on all those things. Where we may agree or disagree on certain points, we're all going to have our different stance. I think ultimately what we all want is a better community for all of us. How we get there, we have different viewpoints on. But I think that's our main drive and our main point here. I appreciate you coming on here and having this conversation with me. It's not easy. I know there's a lot of people, like I said, who shed light one way or another. But regardless of, I think we're very entrenched in our viewpoints. And all we want is the better for our community overall. And a little bit of normalcy, I think we're all asking for. Again, I appreciate everything. I appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being my friend. And I think at the end of the day, be good people.
Yeah.
Raise good children. It's as simple as it can get. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be judged by your car, your boat, your house, and none of that. It's your impact on other people that you'll be remembered by. So, go out there and do something positive.
Cheers to that, buddy.
Sweep the floors.
Sweep the floors. On that note, everybody have a good night. Again, we're all pushing the positive to move forward in the best way possible. And he couldn't have said it any. You got to start at the base level and have an appreciation for that base level that exceeds all expectations and build off of that. So with that being said, everybody have a good night. I appreciate everything. MudTalks. Take it easy, guys.